Alright, so I'm going to show you guys how to fit universal mud flaps to your car. So we're going to be doing this to my Nissan Juke. Why you would want to go with universal ones, it's cheaper. These are like $103 shipped for the universal Rally Armor urethane flaps. This just saves a little bit of money. You know, $10 every time you do a mod adds up. So how we're going to do this, we're actually going to make a cardboard template first. Doesn't need to be perfect, but the closer you get, the better. You can do this with paper if you don't have any of this cardboard floating around. The thinner the cardboard, the better. I'll show you why in a second. Alright, so we have our template. Alright, so we're going to use our template to set up where we are going to put our holes to mount the mud flap. Now, if you didn't want to do the whole template thing, you can just start drilling holes in your expensive mud flaps and go from there. This template is just going to make it easier to make this a one-shot process. So we can see how low it's going to sit. You know, this car is pretty low, so this might sit a little higher than what yours is. You can also use this to make sure your holes are going to be right. So you can do just the top hole, and then you can make your second hole to adjust. You can pivot it until you get it straight up and down. So we're going to mark on our template roughly where we want to put our first hole. So I have the location for the first hole where I want it to go. So I'm going to just put a hole there so that I can take this clip out and mount this so that I can actually get this sitting straight up and down before I mark my second hole. Alright, so I got my first hole made. We're going to go ahead and pop this clip out. Now we're going to mount the flap. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to the back of the car, make sure that's sitting straight up and down. So we have that where we want it. Now the trick is to get the second hole. So what I'm going to do is just mark on the side here where this lines up, so that if I lose where it lined up, I can go back to it. So now, because we have a cardboard, we can bend it and kind of feel for where that hole is. It feels like it's about right there. So now we're going to take this off, going to put another hole there and make sure that it all lines up. Alright, so now that I have that up, I'm just going to go back and make sure that it's straight up and down. And it pretty much is. So now we're going to take this off so that we can actually use those holes and use this as a template for mounting up the actual flap itself. Remember, we cut the flap this way. So we're just going to line that back up, flip it over on its face. You're going to want to take a light colored marker, a silver Sharpie, or in this case I'm using what's called a tire crayon. You want to mark where your hole is going to go. And it's okay to make these holes a little too big when you put the clips or screws in. That's what's going to hold the flap on. So we have where the holes are going to go. So now we're going to go ahead and use a drill press to make the holes perfectly round in those spots. Alright, so we have our holes made. clean up the gunk. I'm gonna go ahead and test fit this to make sure I like how it fits, and then I'm gonna show you guys a really simple way to do it on the opposite side. So that fit perfect. So now what we're gonna do is make the exact same holes for the other side. So you're gonna take the flap for the other side. You wanna put them front to back, just like that. You wanna take your marker or your tire crayon. You wanna make marks for the holes on this side. And then doing the exact same way that we did for this flap, we're going to make the holes for that one. Then when you go to put them on the car, the holes will be exactly matching and they will be exactly the same shape off the car. Alright, so we've got our sets of holes on both sides. So those can go on the car. You're going to do the exact same process with a different template for the rears, and it will come out looking like this.